This is Gemara Pesachim Daf Mem Beis. All the learning for the month of Tevis has been sponsored as a special Schosi L'Neshama for Leah Rashi Basar Yalei V'Dol Schosi L'Neshama for Yalei Ben Yaakov the Neshama should have an Aliyah from all the learning of the entire Chabura. Of course, Achalim Chaim Bichas Ben Malki Yedemir Ben Yakir Med Ben Vega Chaim Ben Sar Shasim Reizel Sar Baskenendi Vesin Chaisar Yisrael Chaim Sar Esna Yusiyol Ben Mindel Elizabeth Ben Shavalei Shamis Ben Naomi V'Shafi V'Yachan V'Aldavin Yiteriv Shmuel Ben Tehila Dinil Ben Chan Reizel Yuda Ben Arya Yuda Arya Ben Yita David Ben Shmuel Yuda Arya Ben Yita Michal Zibra Ben Sele Yehuva. We pick it up on the bottom of Mem Aleph and Beis, which we close out this wonderful second parak. Says the Gemara, about 8 lines at the bottom. Tanu Rabbanon Oichal Tzlim Yom Chayiv. Continuing the theme of the when you're allowed to eat the Karban Pesach, when you're going to be Chayiv, when you're not allowed to eat it. Says the Gemara, if you eat it's Tzli Miboid Yom before Pesach Chayiv, it is an Issa Daraisa. Uksayis Nami Shechashecha, if you eat it partially roasted at the night time, Chayiv as well as an Issa Daraisa. Katani Tzli Demidina. So roasted is similar to partially cooked. Man, no bilah. So we see that what we said there's a lav for tzli as well. Says the Gemara, no. That's straight up in the Torah that when you eat it raw, partially cooked, the Torah says you're not allowed to do this. We understand that it's a lav. How do we know that it's the rice for eating it? Tzli during the day. You only allowed to eat the Karban Pesach at night, not during the day. Says the Gemara, 1 second. This isn't an actual lav, this is a lav we learned out of Asay. What did the Torah say? You should eat the flesh on this night. That's a positive. You should eat it. From there we're learning out that you're not allowed to eat it prior to this night. But that's a lav isn't I say it's not a lav. So why are you telling me it's a lav? It's a lav. Says the Gemara, Rav Chisda, man, you know this is. Moving along to Membezim and Aleph, the last few lines of this wonderful second parak. Says the Gemara, you know it is. Rabbi Yehudi, it's opinion of Rabbi Yehudi. Don't even learn to the rice. Shar v'saru, you have an ox or a cow, ox or a sheep. The sarua, the one that has one eye larger, Rashi has one limb larger than the other, v'kolatur does not have split hooves. Nidava dasa, so you're not allowed to use it as a carbon. So nidava, give its value to the Beis HaMikdash. Oisai, it you could give the value. Oisai atamat is the Bedek Habayis. You're allowed to give the value to the Beis HaMikdash. V'atamat is the Tamim, the Bedek Habayis. But you're not allowed to give a regular tamim, a regular pure kosher, not mum animal to the Bedek Habayis. Mikan amru klamat is Tamim the Bedek Habayis. Oiver ba'asei. It's an Isser. You're not allowed to give an animal without a mum to the Bedek Habayis. Ainli elabasei, says the Raisa, that's only an Isser Atzei. Below Yisasei minayin, how do you know there's a lav as well? Talmud Loimar says in the Torah by Davar Shalom Moshe, Lemar. Says Gemara, Lemar, what? Limoid. You know that teaches me. I'll call the Barsha Kulashib Loisasei the Rav Yehuda. The whole Barsha is a Loisasei, because the Torah says Davar Shalom. What's the limud? Amar le Rabbi, you know this teacher was levar. Amar le Rabbi levar kapara. My mashma. Where do we see? Where do we see that comes to include a lav? Amar le lemar, which means loy ne'emar. It should not be said, meaning those animals you're not allowed to give to the Bedek Habayis b'dvarim. Beirav amri lemar lav amar. It should not be said again. For the word lemar, fascinating how we dash the Torah. For the word lemar that comes to teach me a lav. It says Gemara. We see the opinion of Rav Yehuda holds that lav abba mechlal asay is a lav, and therefore by us, even though the Torah says you should eat it at night, and from there we're learning out that you should not eat it prior to night, but that's going to be a lav according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Says the Gemara, mitash vishal nachtam, the water of the baker. We said you have to spill out. Why? Because it's flour in the baker's hands. It gets inside the water, and the water is going to turn into chametz. Says the Gemara, when you spill it out, make sure it's on an incline so all of it flies away. Don't spill it out in a place where it could collect. Tani Idach, Dimmer Baisa says, Shayvil Makim Ishri, you're allowed to pour it on a place where it could collect. So what's going on? Are you allowed to pour out this water in a place where it could collect? Are we worried that if it collects there, there's potentially going to be some flour in the water and it's going to become chametz? Says the Amara, like Kasha, the Nevishi, the Kavu, or the Nevishi, like Kavu. When it's a lot, then we're worried that it's going to sit there and become chametz. If it's not so much, then we are not concerned. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Isha, like Talash, Mayim Shalanu. We close out the parak with a fascinating din of Mayim Shalanu, that in order to bake the matzah, says Rabbi Yehuda, you have to use Mayim Shalanu, water that was Shalanu that slept overnight. Explains Rashi, because we're holding in Nisan. In Nisan, the waters from the springs are warm. There's some warmth in it. No, we're afraid. We're afraid that that warmth of the water is going to cause it to become chametz. Says Rabbi Yehuda, you got to draw the water the day before, let the water sleep overnight. Now that water is not so hot anymore, and now you can use it for your bread, for your matzah. We're not worried it's going to become chametz. Darsha Rav Masna Rav Masna Darshan this din, that when you make your matzah, he told everyone, make sure you use mayim shalanu. Lamarcha, the next day, you know what happened? Everyone brought their kelim to Rav Masda's house. They said to him, Havlan Maya, please, Rabbi, give us water. He's like, what are you doing here? Meaning, Amelia Bedelia. He said, mayim shalanu. They thought mayim shalanu meant what? My water. So they thought they got to come to his house. Amrlo, I know, I meant to bisu, as Rashi says, is Aramaic. I meant there has to be water that slept overnight. You don't have to come specifically to me to Ramasna for the water. Darish Rava Darish and Isha. She's not allowed to knead the dough with water that was heated by the sun, water that was heated from any derivative of the sun, or water that was heated from any muller, any heat source. You never let it take your hand out of the oven until you finish the whole bread. What does that mean? You're going to burn your hands. Says Rashi, no, it doesn't mean in the oven. It means from the dough, you have to work it the entire time. You never let the dough sit. Similarly, you have to have two kelim when you knead the dough. One is to knead the dough, but then it's going to get hot. The vessel itself is going to become hot from all the kneading. So you need a second keli to rinse off your hands. We start to see all the tremendous chumras of matzah straight out of the Gemara. What if you didn't? You didn't listen, use this warm water, or you didn't have two different kelim. What's the story? Says the Gemara, Mar Zutra on the first wide line, Marzucha Amar Motor, Ravashi Amar Aser. Amar Marzucha Amar Minula. Marzucha said to Ravashi, how do you know it's Aser? The Tanya says in a Bryce in Loisin Asarim Bepesach, you're not let us soak the bar, leave him, lost in it Baku Asirim, Lonit Baku Mutarim. So no, we see the fact that you did it, the fact that you soaked it, is that automatically Aser? It's only Aser if it was Nitbaku, if it became cracked open, if it became Chametz. So says Marzucha to Ravashi, I don't understand. Very good to use this water, which is warm, but who says automatically it's Aser? For Ravashi, he says are all cases comparable? That was a din over there with the barley. But says him over here, when it comes to the warm water, we're automatically afraid if it became chametz. As soon as you use the warm water, you have to worry that the dough would become chametz. We shall return to this wonderful second parak of Pesachim, which concludes one full year of learning the Daf Yomi. Mazel tov to everyone. Amir Tashem. This should be the first of a gorgeous journey, 7.5 years. B'siyat Dishmaya. Could you believe we're a full year in? Who would have thought a year ago today that we'd be sitting here now? Shabbos, Eruvin, Brachas, fascinating. Says the Gemara. Let's move on to the new parak. Says the Gemara, the following items. Your Iver, says Rashi and Bal Yirah, Bal Yamatzeh. The following items are not real chametz, as we'll see, but you still Iver, Bal Yirah, Bal Yamatzeh. Says the Mishnah, Kutach Habavli, Babylonian Kutach, Vashecher Amadi, Median beer, V'chayim Adaymi vinegar, V'zeitin Amitzi, Zeitin from Egypt. V'zoyim Shal Tzvayim, and this dyer's item, which we'll see what it is, and this thing of the butchers, and this item of the scribes. The Gemara was going to explain what all these things are. Also some cosmetics of women. Again, the Gemara will explain. It comes from a type of grain. It's a lav, because these have grains inside them. But there is no curries. Says the Gemara, three things that are said about Kutach Habavli, Babylonian Kutach, which we already know, we learned many times, has some spoiled milk in there, has some bits of bread in there. Number one, Metamis Alev, it messes up your heart. Number two, Metamis Einayim, it blinds your eyes. Number three, Machashas, the gofa weakens the body. Metamis Alev, how do we know that Misham Nisyuvi the Chalva? Because of the whey inside there, the milk ingredients. Metamis Einayim, it blinds Misham Milcha, because of the salt. This is a precedent for the Mesa Daimis, that's why we wash my Machreinim. Machash, as I go and it weakens the body. Misham Kamnisa Doma. Why? Because the moldy bread. Says the Gemara on three things increase the excrement in the body, and it bends over the posture. And it messes up your eyesight. 1/500 of your eyesight. Shaladam Eluhaim. These three items: pots, keeper, coarse bread, v'sheicher chadash, new beer, v'yarechai, and raw vegetables. On the opposite side, it decreases the excrement. It makes you walk upright. And makes your eyes see well. Clean bread, ubasar shemen, and fatty meat, v'yayin yashan, and old wine. Says the Gemara, how do we know these three items? Pasnikia, when it comes to clean bread, as we move along to men beis, amid beis, ditzmida. What does that mean? It means, as Rashi says, it's made out of soilas. It's made out of flying flour. Basar, when we talk about this basar shem, this fatty meat, this sifra, as Rashi says, the goat that has yet to give birth. Says the Gemara, the last delay yiftach, that it's not open yet, meaning as to give birth. Yayin yasham, what does it mean old wine? Atiki means it is old wine. As Rashi says, 3-year-old wine. Kol mili demalu lahai, kosher lahai, kosher lahai, malu lahai. It flops. Things which are good for the heart are bad for the intestines, etc., etc. Levar, except for, lahai bar, mizan gvila retiva, fresh ginger, babila arich, the long peppers, upasta ki on clean bread, ubasar, shemen and fatty meat, v'yayin yashin, old wine, the likuli gufa, fat meat, good bread, good wine, long peppers, and fresh ginger. That is wonderful for the entire body. That's maybe what we'll serve at the Siyum. Says the Gemara, Sheikh Ramadi, median beer. The Ramu Bay Meisara, which means that it has beer inside the barley, which of course back then those were the first beers. They used to have date beer, so the medians were the first one that put in the dates. That put in the barley. That's why it's chametz, and that's why it's called shecher amadi. The chametz adaimi and the vinegar from edaim, the shadu beisari, they also put barley inside their vinegar, inside the wine, which means into vinegar. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak b'tchila in the beginning, kshay mevi in Nisachim, and they brought in Nisachim Yehuda, the libations from Yehuda, lo yeyin shel Yehuda mechametz. The wine of Yehuda would never become into vinegar. Until they started putting inside it vinegar, and that back then that was the first type of vinegar, so they called it general stam, general chaimitz. Stam vinegar was this vinegar from Yehuda. V'achshav by now. That was in Yehuda, but now it's different. Now it's the wine from Edaim that doesn't turn into vinegar until you put inside the barley. So they call that Edaimim chaimitz. Like so what do we see over here? That Yehuda and Edaim flop off each other. That when one has one thing happening, the other one does not. We see that in the Torah El Maliyah Charva. If not for the destruction, that what do we see? Imaleyazu, that if this one is filled, Charvazu, this one is destroyed. Imaleyazu, Charvazu, this one is destroyed, and that's where we see that Edaim and Yehuda flop off of each other. That says the Torah that this kingdom will be pitted against this kingdom again, which teaches us that Yehuda and Edaim play off of each other. Tanya, we learned in a Brayso, Bin Yehuda originally, you bought vinegar from an Amoritz. You don't think of Meiser. Interesting. We know when you buy things from Amoritz, they don't think of Meiser. Vinegar, you don't have to. Why? Because the vinegar came from Temed, and seemingly Temed, which is a type of very weak wine, you don't have to think of Meiser, which we'll see in a moment. Why? Comes from wine. Says the Gemara, what's going on over here? Are you telling me that Rav Yehuda holds that Temed, that is mead, you do not have to take a meiser? Vatani learned to the rice, who makes Temed, and you put it in water in a certain quantity, and the same quantity of water that you added in is the quantity that you were left with, meaning there's almost a negligible amount of grape item inside of it to make the Temed. Potter says, Tanakama, you do not have to take a meiser. We see Rav Yehuda holds you do have to take a meiser. So says the Gemara, I don't understand. You just told me a moment ago. You buy something from Amoritz, you don't have to take a meiser. Why? Because you don't have to take a meiser of Temed according to Rav Yehuda. We see clearly Rav Yehuda holds you do have to take a meiser from Temed. Says the Gemara, first answer is no. It's a dinin amaratzim on Temed. They're not worried on any Temed. We don't suspect that they're not going to take off the meisers. We are concerned. B'deravka, b'debartinna. Two different types of tamed. The first one is b'deravka, which is the tamed, which has the piece of grape inside, and therefore it's chayiv to give off meiser. Whereas the second one is b'dekapersnia, which is made from the seeds, and therefore you do not have to give off meiser. We continue with zaytim hamitzri. We're smack in the middle of these wide lines. First one in line is hamitzri. My zaytim hamitzri. Dana Rav Yosef tlasa sairi. It's a third barley tlasa kartumi. And it's a third saffron, utlasa milcha, and it's a third salt. Some wonderful ingredients over here. Apapa mapik sairi. He took out the barley, ma'ilechit, and he put in wheat. But of course, it's still chametz because we know barley both make chametz. It's simanich sisni. This should sound familiar. We've had this gemara before. And the simon is sisni that Rav Yosef made sairi, made it with the barley. Tarlu, they soaked it, v'kalu, and they roasted it, v'taklu, and they ground it up. V'shasilu, and they drank it. Mit the bisnu baratzarta from Pesach until Shavuos. The kamayit for someone who who has ma'it the kamid, someone who is constipated, marpila, this drink would loosen him up. Udarabi, someone who's a little bit too loose, makmile, it would stuff him up. L'chaylo, l'isha evrava, be careful if you're a chaylo or if you're a pregnant woman. Sakanta, don't drink this stuff. It's sakana, which I guess we could understand because those are people you don't necessarily want to be completely flushed out. V'zaymin shel savoyim, this dire stuff. Hachatargima maya dechivra desavu by liba. This is some water with bran that they put inside some red dye, and the butcher's items, pas tavua, shleivi, says the Gemara, this is grain that did not grow a third, here they put on top of the pot, and the zuma, the froth of the pot goes up and makes this unripe grain turn into chametz. And we conclude with this dye of the seifrim of the scribes. No, it's not from the scribes, it's from the shoemakers, it's the glue, the black glue of these shoemakers. No, it's not that at all. You know what it is? This is the lime that the wealthy girls used to use to remove the hair from their body. That they would leave it for the poor girls to take off their hair from their body. Says Mar'ini, is that true? In the Mishnah, there were 4 items that mean Medina, that everyone has. Shlosha, there were 3 items meaning omnis, which were professions. So this last item says the Gemara, this last item, which was Kailin Shal Seifrim, which was something seemingly of the scribes, so that would be the 3rd item, which was from a profession. But if you're going to tell me it's items that the girls are using, that has nothing to do with the scribes. What does that have to do with an omnis? Says Gemara, you're right. It must be, let's go back to the first answer, it's the shoemaker's glue. Says Gemara, 1 second, if it's shoemaker's glue, why are you talking about the Seifrim? Should talk about the shoemaker. Why are you telling me it's the scribe? Really, it is Purud Shchapi. Really, it is of the is of the shoemaker. Why the Seifrim nami midkamu? Because the Seifrim would also use it. It really was the glue of the shoemaker, but the Seifrim would use that glue as well. Why? They would use it to glue together their paper, so it was the same item. And those items, again, it had some chametz inside. Therefore, it's going to be a problem. And we'll pick up from here tomorrow.